Hi, I'm Silurius. I'm here to talk about the strategic implications of discovering federally compromised individuals deeply involved in an activist community, as Mike Cadell and Chris Newhouse were, and hiding in plain sight as they have been. Mike and Chris have been involved in ostensibly good things for a long time, but they have nearly as long been involved with the feds. Here's an excerpt from my earlier interview with Mike Cadell on Radio Free Kansas, his internet radio show.
They're still trying to portray Barrett as being about the credit card fraud, as being some sort of criminal kingpin who was all about the credit card fraud. They said Mr. Brown was one of them, was all part of the hackers. They said that he targeted, advised, assisted, and strategized. They're doing everything
Here I'm talking
in their power
about Barrett Brown's case
to portray
back in December and
as
January, and the nature of
absolutely
how
part of the hack, and all
duplicitous the feds were in this process.
The government's attempt to classify hacking-related journalism, as also part of the hacking. Back in the first hearing for this, a month ago, when the prosecutor, Candina Heath, was questioning the defense witness, Quinn Norton, for about 3 or 4 or 5 times, Heath asked Norton the same question, just trying to rephrase it different ways to get a different answer. And the question boiled down to this. Heath was asking, isn't distribution of the now hacked documents generally considered part of the hack? And Norton did a great job there and was repeatedly saying no. Well, isn't it considered in the general public that way? Only if they're not Norton had a response to the effect of only if they're not educated at all in this matter. Well, what about just general understanding in your security community? No, not at all. And so, Mike, what does it look like to you when a prosecutor keeps asking the same damn question a million different ways because they don't like the answer they're getting? Does that look to you like they're trying to get something?
It's called badgering the witness and offering leading questions in order to get them to answer the way they want. And it's badgering, and that's the legal term, actually.
Of course you know the legal term, Mike. You work with the damn feds.
I don't know why the judge didn't sustain and overrule the line of questioning.
They didn't overrule it. They didn't sustain an objection because the defense didn't have the sense to object in the first fucking place. And on top of that, the judge himself was favoring the prosecution in subtle ways throughout the entire fucking process. But that's beside the point, because Mike here, of course he would know the legal fucking term for it, because he has a long-standing history of working with the feds. Now, this history began for what seems like a good reason. Mike Cadell and Chris Newhouse, for a very long time, were involved with the fight against the Christian terrorist group, the quote-unquote Army of God. And Chris was involved with... She was an abortion doc whose clinic got firebombed. She was working with a doctor who died due to the firebombing by these terrorists. And so this is ostensibly a very good thing to get involved with the feds on. But this then gets into a touchy issue because being involved with the feds is dangerous and should be kept to the bare minimum of what you can involve them with and accomplish what you need them for. Because anything more than that is asking to get compromised by their logic.
This clip from June 11, 2015 features Mike Cadell on my voicemail requesting a callback about one of many collab ideas he ran by us.
It's raining like a fucking monsoon out here in Kansas. I would like to visit with you about making some Radio Free Kansas PSAs. You've got my number. Give me a call.
You
It's
see,
Thursday,
here
June 11th.
This
Mike
clip
reveals
from November
how
12, 2015,
long-standing
taken
our
from my voicemail,
relationship
features
was
Mike
with
Cadell
him.
explaining that he would be fulfilling an edit request I made prior to visiting he and his wife Chris at their home in Kansas. He did not fix the issue for me by the time I'd arrived.
Thursday, November 12th, I'll be editing the Blogspot post you
No,
made
you won't.
this evening. I'll have it all fixed. You can call me.
No, you
It
won't.
is, once again,
No, Mike, I don't know that you ever fixed
Thursday
this.
evening. You got my number, so give me a call. I'm going to fix it. I guess it's just one line. Finally, I'm going to fix it. Chris will help me. You got it.
In this clip from December 1st, 2015, Mike Cadell expresses concern about my being non-com instead of returning to his home with Doug Lucas in tow.
Hey, it's Mike. 913-449-5145. Where are you guys at? I hope you're going to make it here.
Now,
We're
this
waiting
is
for you.
right
We're
after
worried. We're
the
worried
previous
about you.
visit staying with
Hellender.
them. Chris had revealed
913-449-5145.
that they had been involved with the feds. So at this point, we're pretty fucking
Give us a
spooked.
call. It's
And he's being all
Tuesday
pushy
evening.
about, come on, come visit,
you're
come
okay.
stay.
This clip is from February 18th, 2016. It features Mike Cadell leaving a voicemail message for me that is somewhat harassing and invalidating considering that I was not receiving his calls at that time.
Sister, Mike Cadell. No, really, call me. I'd like to think that we were friends. We should be friends.
Friends like
Don't
you're
be
friends with the
so
fucking feds?
Paranoid. It's not worth it. Believe me. I'm 60 years old. This is not a big deal. Let's talk. I was so happy to see you and your buddy.
You would say it's not a big deal.
It meant a lot to me.
Mike Cadell continued to try to contact me for a few months, and I did not receive his overtures well. This clip is the majority of the conversation between Chris Newhouse and Silarius on May 6th of 2016. Much of the discussion is in reference to a nearly identical conversation held in the Cadell's home last November.
Hey, Chris, it's Cy. How you doing?
Oh, okay. How are you guys?
We're all right. I wanted to hear what you had to say about the whole Mike and the confidential informant or whatever thing. I wanted to hear what you had to say about that because we were a little closed off to hearing more about that for a while because of how much it scared us. But things are calmer now, and I would like to hear why he talked to the feds about that. And the whole story, if you don't mind sharing.
About the anti-abortion people?
Well, yeah, it's obviously the anti-abortion people are worth stopping. That much is obvious. But yeah, I'd like to hear the story about it, and also I'd like to hear if you can tell me more about the when he got called by his contacts again or whatever back during the PayPal days. If you can tell me about that,
Well, why would I even remotely trust you at this point?
Well,
What you did was a my mistake for thinking that you might have the sophistication to understand it, but
Your
now that I
mistake
realize
indeed.
that you didn't. I think that any trust building is not going to come from me.
Well,
I mean, that's definitely my position.
I can
I
understand.
think Mike is too busy.
She
and
completely
he
ignores
was hurt
how
by it, that it's,
she
what he's
demonstrated
doing.
untrustworthiness
I think reaching out
by
to him would be very helpful.
I can
revealing
understand
the
that, but at the
involvement
same
with the
time,
fucking feds.
Can you understand, considering that? And I know I've told you about
Oh, yeah.
It's
Oh, sure, of
it's
course I
it
can.
scares
But, like I said,
it's
I'm not going to just repeat myself. And, whether or not I've understood that, it doesn't, matter. It was a risk to do that. And if you don't see that or understand it, it's not my job to make you.
well I
Follow me.
I understand that it's a risk to share that, but at the same time,
Do you think I owe you something?
No, I don't.
At the same time, it's a fucking risk
I want
to
to
be
try and
involved with
understand
someone
it.
who's
No,
been
you
involved
don't
with the
owe me
feds.
anything, but I want to try and understand it better because
Yes, I want to understand this shit, but
considering the
I want you
considering
to
the
understand
number
it
of
too.
toxic and spy type people we've run into in this circle already. We were on a hair trigger on that.
Oh, that's understandable. But, I think it should be clear enough. If you can't put it together, like I said, it's not my problem. I've got a lot of other issues. I'm unemployed. I'm running out of pension money. That trying to repair whatever it was it's like not even on my short list by any means. It's not even on my long list at this point. If that makes any sense. I'm more interested in survival right now. And I felt bad that I put you in a position, and I certainly have some serious concerns about. But
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I should have known.
Frankly,
that was my mistake.
Frankly, I part of what had us on such a hair trigger was. That's a story for another day.
Maybe I can reassure you that there won't be any repercussions in any way for you guys. And maybe that's just enough.
Oh, wow,
right
I'm
there.
so fucking reassured.
I appreciate
no
that.
repercussions for us.
Our whole lives have been, living what we believe, doing what we needed to do that, and that should be apparent to anyone that knows
I didn't
us.
give y'all anything to repercuss on us about.
Myself, I'm looking at fucking fast food jobs. I have a fucking MD degree.
That's fucking
and
tragic.
I'm working at a Taco Bell. So,
yes, Chris, our economy is broken, and you're living in a state that's utterly hostile to your former profession.
Tragic. I'm sorry.
That's buried as far as I'm concerned.
Y'all should have
fucking
moved out of
ridiculous.
Kansas a long fucking time ago.
I'm so sorry you have to deal with that bullshit. I am sorry for adding to the bullshit. We were scared and contributed to the fear, and I'm sorry for that. But I really do want to understand, and I know you don't owe it to me, and I know you have a lot on your plate right now, and I'm sorry for how fucking much you have to deal with.
Yeah, well, maybe you should watch Bridge of Spies. Maybe that would tell you a little bit.
Is this movie recommendation hour?
It's a great movie. Tom Hanks kind of outdid himself. I don't normally think of him as a good actor, but he was quite exemplary in that. So anyway, Yeah. I really can't discuss it any. I have made a huge error in even going as far as I did. I'm definitely not going to compound it. So.
No, the error was in
hope
not
you
cutting off the relationship
Yeah,
with the
I
feds
really
and
do.
not training your own
It's-
fucking caution to avoid needing a warning from him.
We scared each other something fierce with that conversation. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, yeah, I am too. I figured, I don't know, it was just foolish of me, but anyway. Yeah, I mean, no
It's-
harm done, really, other than the, paranoia or whatever.
No harm done.
Yeah,
At
don't
later
worry
in the
about
same
that.
conversation,
That's the
you
least
start
of our
bitching about
concern.
damage.
Well,
I'm more worried about some kind of crazy
Hypocrite.
civil war with, all the gun-toting lunatics.
the odds of Trump
Funny
getting
people.
elected. Yeah, it's.
Hello?
I was just saying the civil war is right with the odds of Trump getting elected.
Yeah, which is looking more and more possible. If you look at the demographics in the U.S., only about 20% of people are in the so-called salary class, which is
Mhm.
where I used to be. Now, of course, I'm down in the working/poor class. But
Yeah.
anyway, it's think about the fact that 80% of us are in that either working class or poor category, and most of them are either for Trump or Bernie. So if Bernie doesn't get the nomination, I know of personally a bunch of working class Democrats who plan to vote for Trump because they hate Hillary so bad. So it's going to be interesting. We
Yeah.
could actually end up with President Trump, which, seems like something out of a 1960s indie film.
Yeah, some dystopian
Anyway.
fiction there.
Yeah, but I mean, it's theoretically possible. I think the electorate is pretty fed up and, whatever.
It really
Need
is.
to go over it all. But, yeah, I don't know. One guy I really like, this John Michael Greer, has been commenting for quite a while that Trump might be the last chance to avert some kind of civil war from these crazy people because they think there's somebody, that will represent them. So it will delay
Yes,
it for a
appease
while.
the
We need
crazies.
another
Because that's the same thing you
2008
did with the
banking
fucking
crash,
feds.
which is inevitable because the same old bullshit is still going on.
Yeah,
You
they never.
appeased
still have
them
the same
to satisfy
thing to
their
build banks are
desires and
bigger,
their
blah, blah, blah.
goals.
So,
But
when that house
at
of
the
cards
same
comes
time,
crashing down, there's gonna be
you
a lot of
completely
unemployed,
avoided the
disgruntled
responsibility
people.
of making
I'm
sure
sort
that
of
they
glad
don't
that I lived
impede
too far for most of them to walk.
the goals
Yeah.
that for a long time you
But,
claimed to be about.
Anyway, so I don't know what I can say because I can't really elaborate anymore. I mean, I went way over the line already, so.
I guess the.
And I'm sure. Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, you go on.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, I'm sure you'll talk. Kind of understand it. I think he's intelligent and will, not that you guys aren't. I didn't mean it that way, but I mean, he's sophisticated enough to understand.
Sure, trade intelligent for
some of that
sophisticated, as if that actually provides any
emotional way or
fucking
whatever. But, if
value
he doesn't,
in
so fucking what,
reducing
Yeah,
the
That's just
caustic
like anything.
nature of what
You
the
just
fuck
do
you're
what
saying.
You think is right, and
And yes, I'm going to do what I think is right.
Actually,
You're
I-
clearly
I-
not paying enough
I do have one
attention to what
interesting
you might
thing
think is right.
share. He's apparently
This shit is fucking ridiculous. She's being a complete and utter hypocrite throughout this entire conversation. And repeatedly saying she's not going to say shit, but then going on to say little bits again and again and again, because, frankly, she can't decide where her fucking lines are, because being compromised by the feds has compromised her fucking logic.
yeah. But I guess the thing that I never really understood was, if you're, I guess it boggled me to not come clean about having been asked by the feds about the fucking PayPal shit at some point, because it's knowing.
Oh, well, I get it. But you know what? Just consider this a closed topic. I'm sorry. Why would I trust you anyway? I mean, you're just some guy I met on Twitter. For fuck's sake,
Yeah.
But like everybody else that you meet on
some
the internet.
guy you met on
What,
Twitter.
You
No,
trust everyone that you meet on the internet?
No, I don't. But
Come on.
I did trust you with telling you about a bigger plan I've got. I did trust you to tell you about
I
that.
know, and I haven't said a fucking word
No, you
about
haven't.
it, so you can be
You haven't. I can tell.
Other than to one person who I thought would be helpful, but I'm not sure, he's got ADD to such a degree that, or whatever, but, that he'd even remember. But, no, I mean, there's no way any of that
as
was
much as you say you can't
compromised.
fucking
I feel
talk
like I
about
was
this,
much more
Chris,
compromised.
you still go on and keep talking
I was.
about it because
My
you
own
realize this
choice,
is your chance to
obviously,
fucking
but-
defend yourself and
Yeah,
defend
anyway, so don't
this
worry
compromised
about that.
logic
I mean,
you've taken on.
This is just to reassure yourself. Be reassured.
No, it's not to reassure
None of
myself.
that.
And you keep
It's-
trying to
None
find
of that. There's been nothing.
selfish
That's-
motivations for me in
Actually,
this.
back in 2011,
But no, that's not what
was
it's
the
about.
last discussion that I know of. So it was long, long, long ago.
Yeah, well,
Completely inactive. Then that was only because of a prior friendship that was even known. That was
Friends.
and
So that's
also
what you're
because of
calling
my
this
own
Fed that you know.
book,
A
as I
friend.
told you, which obviously was a huge, you're one of like 3 people that know about that.
yeah, well, that's an aspect of it I'm not talking about. I'm not. I have
Well,
not.
yeah, and you shouldn't, because that's far worse than what you're talking about,
Well,
obviously.
at the same time,
And that was
try-
that was predicated on a 20-year, going back. That's the only reason that I even got that warning. I guess. So I mean that shows you that should, if you're intelligent, as I think you are.
How
that should show you
fucking
the value
sloppy.
Sometimes not looking
How
at things
fucking
totally black and
lazy
white,
to
because
depend
that taught me that. I
on
would never have thought that when I was your age. I was
feds
exactly the
to
same way.
warn
Like,
you that you're
what
being
the
surveilled
actual
for
fuck?
getting involved with something
Until
like
I,
PayPal.
Had
When
one of those
you
people
could
sitting
realize
in my living
that
room. In fact,
with
that's
just
the
a
very
little
one
bit of fucking thought.
who warned me.
When you could
Sitting
realize
in my living
that
room in a 300 square foot house.
you
that's
can be
15
cautious.
feet by 20. Still there. I lived there for like 10 years. And he looked out the back window and he said, "Oh, that's a nice looking pot plant." And that was the end of it. He just laughed. I mean, so that taught me something.
and you
right
didn't
there.
realize that that's a
This was
fucking
in, like,
blackmail
1980,
experience you just had there,
whatever,
Chris?
85.
You had
No,
a Fed
90,
sitting in your
90
living
something.
room
So yeah, I mean, I
who
learned
notices the pot
through
plant
my own experience that things are not always
and
black and
doesn't
white.
handle it right
that
then.
opened
This is the
some
same thing I've
doors
bitched
to
about
me.
Barrett
And,
not paying
as you go
attention
through
to
your life,
in prison.
you may or may not have experiences
When
like that
the
yourself.
powers that
but if
be
you don't, it's not my problem. You had
ignore
one.
an
You
obviously
had one little
easily
trip through the
enforceable
looking
violation
glass,
of the
and
rules.
You're okay.
They're saving it up.
Okay. And that's it.
They are saving it as a motherfucking trap so they can
Yeah,
deal with
and
you
it's-
later
it-
if
it
they
just-
need to. I've bitched about
I
Barrett
mean,
missing
I
that,
just-
and clearly you don't notice it any better, Chris.
if I got asked by feds to investigate something like the Anons, I'd have a hard time not later on, after the situation had died down a little bit, talking publicly about it, because the thing is, it is.
Well, I don't really know what you're getting at.
I guess
but
what I'm
whatever
getting
it is,
at, Chris.
That's you.
What I'm getting at, Chris, is that
You know, and I
the
think
only
the
defense
damage
we
that
have
you've
against
done,
these feds is disclosure.
whatever, you know.
And so
feeling
now
that
you're
you
talking
had
about damage.
should have been satisfied by
10 minutes
the
ago, you were
damage that you
talking
did.
about no harm done, and now you're talking
and,
about
you know,
damage.
I'm more forgiving than I should be, but that's all I'm going to say about that.
It's
You know,
not.
because I think you're just sticking your nose in someone else's business that you don't really understand.
Well, I'm trying. I want to
and
understand
are
it
too
better.
young and naive too. So I mean, that's what I'm going to say about it. And,
Well, I want to.
You know, fuck you. You know, just go and do your life, whatever, you know, wellness or badness that you want to do, and just don't be telling other people what to do. I think you created, you know, a lot of pain and damage for me in my relationship, and you know, probably.
No, Chris, you created the pain and damage by being so fucking sloppy as to get involved with the fucking PayPal
the rest
bullshit
of it, I mean,
without
just
defending
fuck you,
yourself
you know,
properly,
you
without
think that someone else should do
concealing
something,
yourself
you
properly,
tell him, don't tell me.
and putting
No, it was my mistake.
Mike in a position
the,
where
the damage
this
accrued to someone else.
quote-unquote friendship
And that,
was still fucking necessary.
he doesn't even know the first thing about you. It's just appalling. I mean,
Yeah.
fuck all that. I mean, I understand
What's
what you're
appalling
saying,
is
but I
leaning
just
on the
want you to
fucking
know,
feds to
if
defend you
keep it up,
from
I am gonna get
shit
angry
you had
again,
you didn't
know,
have
so
to
you'll
get
be
involved
dealing
with in the first fucking
with,
place.
you know, just an emotional situation instead of a rational one.
Well, thank you for talking with me. I do. I really. I get that I don't understand it, and I do want to understand it better. And that's why I called. Not to assure myself about whether you've talked about anything or anything like that, but honestly because I do see that there are things I don't know enough about yet, and I would like to know more. And
Right. Well, I mean, they may just be things that are unique to me that wouldn't make sense to anyone else. I mean, you can try projecting
unique
yourself.
to you, yeah. That's
you
a
know
good way
enough
to
about
explain
the
how
course of Mike in my life
you've
that
changed
you
the
ought
way
to be
you think
able
about
to
your
put
logic
some of it
because
together,
of
I would
taking on
think.
federal compromised
all of
logic.
this was at the time when 6 or 7 murders had happened within just a few years. Snipers, bombings, you know.
Now, again,
the
these
guy I
are
worked
valid
with was
reasons
later
to
murdered.
temporarily
You know, if you
get involved
can't
with the feds.
project yourself into a situation like that, you
If I was in a
probably
situation
won't
like this, I would probably
understand the
contrive to
original
drop a federal hammer on
thinking.
the asses of the people who were blowing shit up too.
I can
because
see how
that's
with
useful.
that kind of shit
But
going on.
nonetheless, it's a temporary
Any
thing.
any
It's
kind
something
of
you get
ally
involved
that
with
could help
briefly.
actually resolve that kind of scary ass situation would be appreciated. And I can see how, you know, even one as freaky as the feds, when the enemy that you're dealing with at the time is even more dangerous, I can see how that would be a very, very understandable thing to turn to.
Right, and that's where all of that began.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there was basically nothing in between that and the PayPal thing. Actually, yeah. So that all the only reason that I didn't, you know, wasn't PayPal 15 or so, you know, theoretically, was because of that long-standing friendship with one person. And that's as far as I...
And the only reason you needed that warning from your supposed federal friend is because you were too fucking sloppy to get involved with this safely, or to know better than getting involved with something like a DDoS attack in the first place. The PayPal attack didn't produce any additional information. It did not produce any serious value in moving the movement forward. It's hacks that do that, not kicking over servers.
Your call has been forwarded to
it's a fucking shame that you got in trouble,
Is not
or
available.
very nearly
At
got
the
in
tone,
trouble, Chris,
please record
for
your
being
message.
involved with the
When you
PayPal
have
attack.
finished recording, you may hang up or
But
press
that
1
was
for
your
more
mistake.
options.
That wasn't some unavoidable
Hey, Chris,
magic
thanks for calling
that
calling back and talking with me. I
you
think we lost
avoided
reception
only
or
through
something.
the help of your Fed
I hope you
friend.
have a good day.
No, that was
and,
something you got your own goddamn
Thank
self
you for telling me
into.
about all that.
And you
Take
would
care.
not have
Bye.
gotten into had you behaved a
Like I
little
said,
fucking
check out
bit
the
more
other videos in
sensibly.
this playlist for my take on all of this, highlights, and more. Thank you.